Hello, I'm Cynthia Hoven. Welcome to eurythmiaonline.com weekly webinar presenting soul exercises and copper rods. Remember, supported completely by your donations. Good morning, good morning, good morning. As you come streaming in to our Eurythmy recording, so happy to be with you again this morning. Please sign in as you've been signing in. Write your names in the chat box. Tell us where you're from and any other news or comments that you'd like to make as we get ready for today's lesson. So exciting to think of people around the world, and good for us to be aware that there are people in South America, Mexico, in Australia, down in the Southern Hemisphere, over in Asia, over in Europe, as well as right here in the United States and in Canada. And it's nice to imagine that we're doing this together and know that there's no way that we couldn't do this if it weren't for the strange and wonderful gifts of the internet. What a shock. So let's be grateful for the spirits of electricity that are making all this possible, and the service that they do for us so that we can join together in this. So good to be with you today. So as we take a couple minutes still to welcome everyone in, I would share with you, it's a beautiful morning here in Sacramento, California. We still have smoky skies from the wildfires that are still burning around the state, especially down in the Los Angeles area. And this weekend, my husband and I were out driving, and we drove through an area that we know quite well, part of the wine country. And we drove for 15, 20, 30 minutes through one of the areas that has been utterly devastated by the fires. And these are hillsides that have been stripped to the bones, prepared. They're ready for landslides when the rains come a little bit later. But we're really shocked by how much acreage has been burned. And then as I was walking today in my own landscape here in Fair Oaks, we are on an area that always has dry weather in the end of summer. Things are fading away here, even as you in the Southern Hemisphere are shooting with green, beautiful colors. We here are in the time of fading. And here we're not in the beautiful places of wonderful colored leaves in autumn. We're in a place where we experience with great vividness the dying away that happens at the end of the season. And this dying away somehow matches the soberness that's underlying what's happening in our ecosystems now. Also the soberness that's happening through our quarantines. Those of you who are parents, I know you're struggling with your homeschooling. There's still a lot going on, even though we can live in a kind of semblance of normalcy. We're vividly aware that we're at a time of transition. And in that, once again, I want to affirm how grateful I am, first of all, for the spiritual work of anthroposophy in which eurythmy is grounded, and for the path of eurythmy, which gives such nourishment for affirming our inner center. And as I've been speaking to you every week, I am so certain that it's only by finding that inner center that we're really strengthened, have enough strength to go through the small changes, the great changes, the deaths, the cycles, and the rebirths that come with being human on the earth, leaving phases of life, moving on to new phases, and so on. Because when we know who we are, that we have an inner doorway, a non-spatial doorway to spirit, this is all part of a big story. We are fine. We are essentially fine. And through this eurythmy practice, we can nurture that. So I call this the practice of mindfulness, mindful presence, modern strengthening. And this presence in eurythmy is presencing right into the sacred temple of the body, the physical body, the life body, the soul with all of its richness, all directed by your spiritual core. So with that, good morning, and we will begin. Let me prelude what we're going to do today. We're at our 5th lesson in this series of 6. And we have learned almost all of the exercises that I'm going to teach you in this series. One of the major thrusts of this series was really to go through the 4 major rod exercises. They're such a help for us. As I've said to you before, I do them every time I do my personal eurythmy practice. I spend 5-8 minutes on the rod exercises. And going forward in this eurythmy series, we're going to always need to come back and remember how we learned these rod exercises. So take them up vigorously. And then I also am teaching some of the soul exercises. We actually have 13 altogether. I'm not going to teach all of them. Some of them are medically a little too intense to teach in a public class. But the ones that I can teach, we've been working on. We've got one more new one to bring this morning, a really sweet little one. And at the end of the lesson, I hope we'll be able to go through the 3 major soul exercises. So with that, let's begin. Find your space in your room. Take a stretch. Work through those kinks in your body, let them go. Whatever works, touch the floor if you like. Whatever works for you. Imagine your body soft and smooth, fluid. Going through that, stand straight. Remember your head, your heart, your rhythmic system, your legs. And remember the center of your practice is here in the chest, where the lungs are massaging the heart, where the heart, and I center it at the heart chakra, has its own secret door to the spirit, always ready to be opened so you can listen to your higher knowledge. Breathe. And I'll begin by speaking the eurythmy meditation. Move your mind through the meditation, and you don't need to move your body, but be sure to visualize what's happening. I seek within me creative forces working, creative powers living. The heavy weight of earth tells me through the word of my feet. The forming power of the air tells me through the singing of my hands. The strength of heaven's light tells me through the thinking of my head how the great world in the human being speaks, sings, thinks. Having awakened now, this consciousness of yourself belonging to the whole of creation, we'll begin with the E-A-O exercise. which we've done each week in this module series. We bend our heads slightly, bend the knees, and we begin by straightening. In straightening, we feel the E as our spine connects heaven and earth. We step to the right and we step to the left, a fairly broad base, releasing our energy down into our legs, grounding. We feel this as the ah expressed through the legs. My arms now are empty, are passive, and they are ready to be engaged. Etherically, I make a big round circle of love. And I release, and release, and release. Good. 2 more times. I'll speak the sounds and you don't. E. Ah. Oh. Away. 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 One more time, slowly. E. Ah. Oh. Away. 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 Now we'll do a little bit faster. E. I'll jump. Ah. Oh. Away. And if you cannot jump, you can just make a quick leg movement. E. Ah. Oh. Away. 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 E. Ah. Oh. Away. 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 E. Ah. Oh. Away. Away. One more fast one. And slowly. E. Ah. Oh. Away. And away. Standing still. You remember the eurythmy meditation. I seek within me to understand the legs, the air, the middle system, which includes the hands, and the head. And this opening exercise really puts us into that activity quickly with vigor. Deep breath. We'll turn our attention to the rhythmic system, the heart and the lungs, and begin with our contraction and expansion exercise. We can begin small or large, but we'll begin big. From your heart, your arms are extended like wings. Your energy is feeling, striving ever more to realize the sphere of the etheric body around you. You're more than your arms. And as you bring your arms into yourself, the entire etheric body is focusing itself in the heart. And from the heart, expanding wide into the widths of space. And again, we come in. Within my heart shines the light of the sun. Within my soul weaves the warmth of the world. I will breathe the light of the sun. I will feel the warmth of the world. Light of the sun pour into me, and warmth of the world flow through me. Breathe. And I hope you could keep your attention throughout the entire movement on the sphere of space, not just your 2 arms, but the whole space around you. that breathes in and out. And if you remember in past exercises, especially in the previous 7 or 6 sessions, the previous webinar module, we worked a lot on feeling the wings behind us and feeling how our arms start at the shoulder blades. And in doing so, we developed a feeling for what I call the back door of the heart, which we're referring to in lots of eurythmy exercises, including the 12-fold rod exercise, the waterfall exercise, including the ah reference exercise. And whenever we practice walking forwards and backwards, we're trying to open an awareness of this back door of the heart. And so now let's do the contraction expansion again. This time we're also going to walk forward and backwards, but we'll add to it a real deliberate intention of opening the space between the collarbones, the back door of the heart. And remember to do that we always keep our gaze level. We don't look up or down. That distracts us from feeling what's happening in the chest, in the body. So spread your wings wide, big arms. Your gaze is level, but your etheric energy is big. And with 4 steps, we'll come forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last step is the most tender. Now we walk backwards and feel that movement starts at your shoulder blades and unfolds, and the last step is biggest. And with a big step, getting smaller and smaller. Feel your back. And I just urge you to practice this contraction expansion often. This is a balm for so many things. Here we go. Within my heart shines the light of the sun. Within my soul, backspace weaves the warmth of the world. Now remember to touch with your toes first. I will breathe. Threefold walking. The light of the sun. I will feel the warmth of the world. Light of the sun, pour into me. You are a seed here, yes? And the seed grows and grows and grows. Warmth of the world. With the last line, flow through me. There you go. All right. Now we're going to enter again the world of the soul exercises. And today I'll bring the last of the ones I'm going to bring in this series, which is one that's not used a lot, just a kind of endearing exercise. And it's called Laughter A. Sweet little exercise, but perhaps as a prelude, I could say, just think if you're really gnawing away on problems, how those problems kind of sit like bad energy and it's really hard to slough it off. And if you can laugh, you can release that tension. And this exercise creates the feeling of laughter eurythmy with a gentle ha, like that. This isn't the formal exercise yet. I'm kind of talking with my hands, but you could try this. Just go, I don't need that stress. I don't need it. And maybe even to begin with, make a little laugh as you do this. So here, this is a little pre-movement. You go, I'm a little bit tight and go, I don't need that. Now practice leading that with your shoulders, that you're starting this thrusting off from the shoulder blades. Go, I don't need it. I'm sure there are many things we can think of. I've just had a tough talk with someone else, but I can forget. If I can afford to forget about that. Oh, that was so difficult what I just went through, but I don't need to chew over it. So just think of all those things. Okay, and now we'll do a little bit less with the arms, a little bit less. But here is the prelude, the pre-movement, just kind of shrugging your shoulders. And then, and at our final movement now, this is the laughter part of it, we're going to come into a strong ah. I feel grounded. I feel myself now. Again, here we go. We pull our energy in and then laughter. Ah. Again. And again. And again. And please ask of yourself that you really feel a little bit giggly here. And again. Can release the stresses that you carry. All right, my children just made a mess, but it's okay. Everything, or I'm sure you've got lots of narratives you can think. My computer's a mess, so what? And release. And with this at the end, you feel you really don't need the stress. You are whole as you are. I recommend this if you're the kind of person who chews on things inside yourself. Practice doing that. You don't necessarily need to put this one in your daily practice, but there will be times, especially if you're a worrier, you should maybe do that. Make a practice of doing that 5 times a day, 5 little series, or whenever you feel that you're just getting yourself wound up. You are more than your worry, and you're more than your stress. Okay, we're going to continue. And today I want to review with you the A exercise out of the hygienic, the soul exercises. The one that we learned right in the first week called the agility or the dexterity A, which is used for focusing our energy and works with the A quality, which strengthens our self-focusing in the body. So let's remember how we did this. We had outstretched arms and cross them, right? A. I am here. A. I know myself. A. A. Rightful boundaries. A. 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 I'll come closer to the screen just a little bit. Doesn't matter if I like to alternate right over left, left over right. A. 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 If you're able to see me on the screen very well, you'll see that here I'm open, and then when I'm here, I'm really looking straight ahead. A. And in doing that, I also feel my midline, up and down, right, left come together, and they come together, and that balance is experienced right here, my crossing. Try it again. A, I am here. A, A. And I'm ready to engage with you. A, 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 A. You'll notice this is not yet at this point that big glorious A like we have in the Hallelujah. This is a sharp and fast A. This is used in this sense therapeutically. Or it would be used if we did a poem and we want to do something quick and fast. Now we support that in the legs with a particular kind of A, which is done by standing on one leg, you'll remember, and placing the heel, lightly tapping the heel against the top of the shin bone. This is particular for this exercise. So I do legs and arms together, A. And obviously, you're going to feel that that challenges your balance. A. If you can't do it quite this well, do it in standing. And A. This is one of the exercises I don't do backwards. I only do it forwards, and I go A, 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 and A. And go backwards again. This is one that's really nice during summertime and especially during autumn when we need to rally our forces together. Next step, as we learned a few weeks ago, and if you're new to the series, please go back and review the series 1, or lesson 1 and lesson 2 of this series. And we do a little hop with each of these A's. So I go step, hop, and kick, step, hop, and kick, step, hop, step, hop. And because the screen, I need to stay distant from the screen, I'm going to do it in circles here. I go A, 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 and A. And if we do this with children at school, we pretend like we're riding horses and playing with our swords at the same time. And wake, oh, wake, and take your way. Be brave today. Hooray, hooray. Again, A, 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 and A. Yes. If you choose to take this one up in your exercises, of course, you'll do it longer than this. You should pick it up and do, I don't know, perhaps 5 circles like this. Or do 1 circle, rest, and another circle, and rest. And I want to especially recommend this for people who have dyslexia or difficulty with spatial orientation, or who are clumsy, can't really find that crossing point. This is so good for focusing. Now we're going to move on to the partner exercise for this, which is, or an opposite exercise is perhaps better to say, the O exercise that we've worked on for the last 2 lessons. And we practice making a big O with the arm. And I will remind you that the value of the O is that it moves us out of our egotism into creating rightful relationship with community. So, with a big, joyful, loving O, we make a circle with the arms. Golden and round O. And again, O. And again. Oh. Good. And let's take one step with an O forward, threefold walking, meaning take the step slowly and touch with the toes first. And one step. Then with the second step, you lower your arms, lift, carry, place. I'll keep walking forward so you can't see my feet. Lift, carry, O. And the second O releases as a kind of exhalation. Again, lift, carry, O. Lift, carry, and O. You immediately feel how different that is from that sharp, pointy A. The O slows you down and takes you into your breathing. Now I'll do it as I showed you last week with the two O's on a circle. You have an invisible partner with whom you work. That invisible partner is standing at the front of your circle. You carry an O to that person. That person then completes the circle as they lower their arms. And now that person comes to you from behind. O. You both make this O. And then you go back, and both of you, you and your invisible person, partner, lower your arms. So rising and rising and falling. And explore how this invokes an inhalation and an exhalation, and an inhalation and an exhalation. And oh, 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 oh. Now lean over to your right. Now you're in the center. Oh. Lean to your left. Oh. And this one needs to get a little bit faster. Oh, oh, oh. Lean to your right and then come to center. Oh, lean to your left and then back to center. Oh, 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 oh. Breathe. Oh, 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 oh. We'll do one more to the front. Oh, and one to the back. Oh, and rest. Good. Good. Now, I can imagine when I said lean to the right and lean to the left, some of you were thinking, oh, that's too much to think about, or how do I do that and my arms at the same time? And those processes put us in our head. They make us uncertain. And I just want to point out what the learning is here, because once you're able to practice that and get out of your head into the body, then the whole body, head, heart, and limbs become integrated in doing these wisdom-filled movements. So that's the journey. And my work is to teach you all the steps you need to get there. And in a future work, I'm going to really work with you on how to feel all of the directions of space around you, front, back, right, left, in circles, and so on. So just notice that. That can help you to understand what the learning process is. Okay, take a deep breath. We're going to do the rhythmical R like we worked on last week. Rhythmic R, once again, a breathing exercise. You'll remember that we began by practicing the R exercise. I said there are many different R's in different languages. This is the air sound. The R in English just says ra, and the R in German goes ra. But the Spanish R goes rrr, beautiful. Rrr, a circling movement. Rrr, rrr, rrr. Yep, we'll learn more of that later in another module. But then you remember the rhythmical R exercise just takes this front part of the R and focuses on that to move the air through our breathing process. You remember. So you remember you start with your arms here. Let's do it without bending for a moment. Remember you make this little curve form down to here and back up again. I'll come closer to the screen for you. You go down and up. Remember that? And you lean with your arms so your arms have reached this curved position and then back up. Now discover what that does with your back. So you've got a really nice curve back here. And then you stand straight. And this curve through your back extends all the way around the neck. Take a look here. And then back up again. Be sure to integrate the head with the back. I'm going to show you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do this, where you're popping up with your head, but bend your neck in. And here, don't pop up with your head first. Let the head be part of it. And back up. That way you're sure not to hurt your back. And here, as I'm bent here, I'm bent all the way down to the tailbone, from the tailbone up to the top of the head, even to the forehead, and back again. Here we go. And rest. You should be breathing really lightly with a little smile. The R kind of impels giggles or joy. Yeah. Notice I'm only taking my R down to here. I'm not going all the way down to my knees. The sound of my curve just encompasses this much space here. And again. And rest. Breathe. And then we'll do a third set. Remember, you don't speak, but you speak with your body. You speak with your arms. We'll work more on those sorts of thoughts and understandings another time. Here we go. And rest. How do you feel? I feel worked through in my chest. All of the exercises that we did now were very good for this whole rhythmic system. We'll turn to the rods. I hope you all have a copper rod. And remember, if you don't, we have a whole little article on the website. It's one of the freebies there to says how to about the copper rod exercises, how to get one, how to use them. Remember, they're 33 to 36 inches long, this nice copper. And as I said, I'm heartened by how many of you have said you love the rod exercises. It's really fun to read. If you don't have a rod exercise, or if you're new to us today, if you go back to lesson 1 of this webinar series, you can learn all of the exercises that I've been working with for the rod exercises and build them up appropriately. If you jump in right now, you'll miss a few steps. So go back, if you're new, go back and learn them. All right, the first week we learned these little birds, remember? Let's take a moment to remember them, the agility exercises for the fingers. We began with the story of the birds flying in from the mountains. Now we can just go right ahead and start with them without bringing the birds in. We'll just practice working this finger agility. As fast as you can, underneath, above, underneath, above, underneath, above, underneath. And as I said to you, little children can't do this. Usually they can't do this until 7. They're just not, what we say, they're not into their hands yet. And then as I watch people get old people can't do it either. But it's really worth a lot to do it. We also say that this is the kind of exercise that really stimulates agility and quickness in your thinking. It's attention to detail. Yep. Then we went ahead to do the squirrels. You remember, first of all, these little squirrels went climbing up the rod, one all the way up. The important thing with this little exercise is to keep the rod very straight as you go up and down. It is for us and also for the children a way of imprinting and strengthening the sense of the connection to heaven and earth. So whether you need this or not as an adult, it's still good to practice it now and then. And climbing up to the top of the tree and climbing down. Call this one of the minor exercises, but they're good to come back to. Now, we practice the rod crossing. You have 2 squirrels, remember, in our little narrative for children. First and second graders can do this. Timmy and Tommy. Timmy, the little squirrel, jumps over his friend Tommy. Tommy jumps over Timmy. Timmy and Tommy and Timmy and Tommy. Right over left, left over right. Good. And in my narrative for children, you don't need it, but it makes it fun. Timmy, right hand, says, I'm going to hide. Go underneath. Tommy says, so will I. Found you. Timmy and Tommy. Right under left, left under right, and so on. Good. Timmy and Tommy get more playful. Timmy says, I'll go on top. Tommy says, well, then I will. Timmy says, underneath, and Tommy, on top, underneath, on top, underneath, on top, underneath, and they jump and jump and jump. And you remember, we can match that with the feet. One squirrel and another squirrel, a ground squirrel or a rabbit. And Billy jumps in front of Bobby, Bobby in front of Billy, Billy in front of Bobby, Bobby in front of Billy. One, left, right, and left. And if you've noticed, this is the same thing as doing an A with the arms, doing it with the feet now. It's kind of a precursor to those other exercises that the older children do. And then backwards, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we try to put them together. Right over left, left over right, right over left, left over right, right, left, right, left, right, left. I hope you're having fun. And now we'll go backwards. I will start with my left hand. That's a choice I'm making now. Could be the other way, but I've got my left foot in front. So I'm going to do left hand and left foot going back, 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 and back. Got it? Let's come forwards again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And backwards, starting with the left foot and the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And rest. Again, these are for agility. They're fun. And if they're hard, you probably will benefit by practicing them. All right. Sevenfold is good for everyone. Working on the precision of the physical body. And I'm quite aware of how so many people struggle to have a right relationship to the physical body, including people who love spirituality. They're not always in the body. So this is a really good grounding one. But if a person is too grounded, they might not feel the body as a transparent instrument for their higher self. So we're working now with this exercise on practicing the geometry of physical space. And again, if you're new, you must go back and look at this. Those who've already practiced it know where we're going. We begin by going down to the ground, up above the head, to the right, to the left, to the right, above, below, and back in the middle. I'm also stepping backwards. You didn't have to step there. Needed to get closer to my wall. Below, above, right, left, right, above, below, in the middle. And of course, after all these weeks, you'll remember that the right arm is on top here at a right angle. And please constantly strive to be exact, not too wide, not too high, not too crooked. Really nice right angle here. Right side, left side, right side, above, below, in the middle. It is as exact as mathematics. 4, 5, 6, 7. Rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clarity. 5, 6, 7. Good. And now we've worked on doing this with stepping in different directions. And just to remind you and to tell any newcomers who might be here, in previous lessons, I set this up and I have turned around so that you don't get confused spatially. I'm going to stay facing the camera this way this time. I go forwards and down, backwards and up. I step to the right, and then I step to the left, and I step to the right. Backwards or up is always backwards. Backwards is up, up, forwards to go down. Then I return with a side step to my beginning position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the middle, like your morning coffee exercise. Clarity. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the middle once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I like to increase it by doing 3 steps in each direction. This is one of the ways that we build an exercise in complexity. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. 4, 2, 3. 5, 2, 3. 6, 2, 3. 7, 2, 3. 1 back in the middle. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. 4, 2, 3. 5, 2, 3. 6, 2, 3. 7, 2, 3. Back. I'm going to show you in case you have a question about my feet. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I draw my back foot up, but almost passively. I just I draw it up. That's important for when I go sideways. I'm going back now, but before I do, to feel my back space. 1, 2, 3. I draw my right foot in. Now I step to the right. 2, 3. I just draw that left foot in so that when I go to the left, it's the boss. I draw the right foot in, and now it's free to take a side step. I lead with my left foot back. I lead with my right foot forward. I lead with my left foot. Okay, do it again. Leading with the right. 1, 2, 3. I lead with the left. 1, 2, 3. With the right. With the left. With the right. Backwards. Forwards. And back in the middle. Have fun with that. I love it. All right, another 12-fold exercise. And I do hope that by now you've worked it enough so you will remember how to do this with the hands. Start with the hands curved around the rod, the thumbs in front. I pop the rod up here. And you notice how that correlates to things like the rhythmic R when we lift. It correlates with the inhalation for 3 counts. Drop it on count 4. Take it around my back. And then up again. Down again. Take it around the left side. And I take it, placing my hands the way they need to be to begin. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pay attention now to the alternation between levity and gravity. Lightness, heaviness, groundedness, lightness. Heavy and grounded. That's important for the way that you take the rod around the side. I'm going to interrupt for a moment. When you take the rod from around to the back, keep your arms extended long as much as you can so that you're really describing a heavy circle around yourself. In contrast, what you might incorrectly do is just kind of lift it up and tuck it back there. And I don't want to see that. I don't want you to be doing that. I can't see you anyhow. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep the rod low. 5, 6. Now we return to levity. 7, 8, 9, 10, and nice and low. 11, 12. 1, 2, 3. Heavy. 5, 6. In your back space, feel your back. 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3. Feel heavy in back. Feel light in back. Feel heavy in back and come to the front. Ready to walk with it? We walk on the counts when the rod is light. Thus on 1, 2, and 3, and on 7, 8, and 9. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Standing still. Backwards. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Heavy. 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Once more. And heavy. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now we'll do 3 times the spiral exercise, which is a kind of contraction expansion exercise using the rod. Or as I said once before, you could use a ball on this one if you'd like. Here we go. We start heavy. We go to the back. 1, 2, a little bit higher. 3, 4, a little bit higher. 5, 6, and higher. 7, 8, kind of pinched, and release that out of the chest, releasing out. Bigger and bigger and bigger and deep and rich and round. And up we go. It's a little bit like wearing a skirt that's really tight. The skirt is cinched around your chest here. 6, 7, 8. But I called it a skirt because it's like a cone. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 4, and 5, 6. Deep and relaxed. And now, the beloved waterfall with all of its humorous anecdotes that accompany it, where we get used to it and often drop the rod. And as I said, I'd love to be with you here and you drop them. If we could all be having fun with each other with that. Remember to lay great emphasis on the journey, this whole beautiful arc around yourself. Drop and catch. I hope you made it. Let me explain for you for a moment what I mean. When I teach it, as I did last week, I said take time to make these beautiful arcs. And then after practicing that for several times, then we come to the full exercise back here and drop and catch. And then to my dismay, after that, most students go like that. And it's just so goal-oriented. I just have to get my rod back there. People unconsciously feel the only important thing is practicing catching. And I want to urge you to feel this wonderful, gorgeous swoop all around you to your back. And the dropping is the completion of the circle. Again, beautiful arc in front of you, above you, around the back. Now you can drop and catch. And around is heavy, as we practiced before. Out of heaviness into lightness, drop and around. And possibly all of you have dropped it at least once. Remember, I dropped it last week. That was fun. And drop and catch. And one more time. And up and over the back. Then we practice doing that with a few steps. So we'll come forward, lifting, up, around, drop and catch. Take it around as you go back. Lifting, beautiful arc. Take it around behind, up, and backwards. Front space, which I've called in other sessions, here's the sense world. Drop, back space into the invisible world. Once again, catch. And for those of you who might have had a little bit more practice, you have some other variations. I'll show you, but I won't linger on this. Just because it's a lot of fun, you can curve and turn around. That was like an upside down comma, what I just did. Drop and catch and back up. Now I'm going to go again to my right, curving. So I'm making it more difficult by practicing turning around. And I'm back to my beginning position. Okay. That's kind of an advanced version. But if you're able to do it, I hope you enjoy it. Dear friends, before we go to questions, I want to take a moment to do the 3 soul exercises, the major ones that we learned in previous lessons, previous webinars, and then we also learn them again in this webinar, but not as intensively. If you want to learn them more, please go back to the earlier webinar. But we'll do the 3 major exercises now, each one of them only 3 times each, although I advise you to do them 7 to 10 times each, especially when you make a commitment to one or the other to make it part of your daily practice. We're going to begin with Ah, reverence, and then do love, A, and then hope, ooh. Ah, reverence overcomes the anxiety of the nervous system, which leads to getting diseases, leads also to not getting enough sleep and so on. That's the first one. The second one is to soothe and harmonize the rhythmic system, high and low blood pressure, anxiety in the heart realm. And hope, ooh, is for strengthening the metabolic system. As I said, there's plenty more resources for how to learn these on my website, but I'll take it up again now because you've already learned it from doing this work with me here. Ah, reverence, alternating front space and back space. In front of you is the beautiful sense world. Imagine something beautiful, a bouquet of wonderful flowers, or perhaps something great to eat, fabulous landscape. With a well-shaped ah, take a few steps forward, opening your heart, let the beauty of the world stream into you. Then you remember that the archetypes for this sense world are in the spirit world. And you open, you find the corollary to those beautiful flowers in the stars behind you. Open your back to the wonders of the mysterious, super sensible world. And as I stand here, I feel open to both worlds. I'm a portal to the 2 of them. 2 more times. Coming forwards, well-shaped ah. Going backwards in reverence. I'm in the gesture of reverence, and I linger here as I drop my arms. Feeling stars all the way down to my heels. And then I find myself between worlds. And again, ah. Ah, down through your back. Feel shiny all through your back. One could do that for many, many repetitions. But we'll move into the second one, feeling the heart space. The alternation between loving expansion and finding the center, like the rhythms of the heart, where the lungs open wide. Your arms are really feeling the whole world in its joys and sorrows. You let your arms move through the fabric, the texture of love in the world. And go back to your own center, A. The heart gives away and comes back to itself. Just as our biography, we give and we give and we give love. And we return to ourselves to center. And again. Love. Really discovering the center, not head, not limbs, but A, the rhythmic system. And now hope, ooh, feeling our way into the lower body. We begin by seeking strength, imploring the spiritual world to help us by leaning backwards in this cup shape. And we linger here for a moment till we have found a feeling of the cup. The cup will be filled, and we reach up, put the backs of our hands together, and with this inverted ooh, we take warm, nourishing light right through our whole digestive metabolic system and into the legs. Ooh. And again, hope. And your hope is answered with this ooh energy. Comes in through the crown, past the throat, through the heart. It's very important this moment when it goes in front of the diaphragm, into the richness of the lower body, down through the legs to the feet. Sometimes people choose to curl the toes up with this moment. If that helps you, feel free to do that. One last time, hope. Feeling your back space. You're still in the back space. Now you're above the head. And now you work your way down to the head, to the crown, the throat, the heart. Past the diaphragm to the lower body, into your legs. My legs are touching. And then if you want, you can curl the legs together and the toes up, and you feel ooh, and rest. Thank you. Fold your arms. Perhaps you can feel your lower self thanking your higher self saying, oh, it felt so good to get inside my body. Thank you for paying attention to me, to self. Oh, so that was a completion. We're going to take a moment for some questions and conversation, but I'd like to just say a few words first of all. Once again, heartfelt thanks to those of you who found your way to step up and support this project with donations. Also, as you know, there are more resources on the website for you. Also, we've got one more lesson in this series, and then we're going to start a 7-session webinar series afterwards that will take us to the middle of November. With that one, we're going to work on how to move in space a little bit better, how to do colors in eurythmy, reds and blues and yellows and so on. And also all the sounds, once again, integrating them into a poem. So that will be a really rich journey up until the week before Thanksgiving. And then we'll do consonants after that, and planets and constellations after that. There's more to come. Next week, friends, is what the festival day that we call Michaelmas. So in addition to eurythmy, I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about what Michaelmas is. So I look forward to doing that. Now we're going to do some chats. We've got a couple minutes on the clock, but I'll stick around for another 5 minutes afterwards to be sure that I get to all the questions that are here. So Michelle, my good Michelle, would you please help me?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Lisa had a question when we were doing the agility A.
Yes.
She said, when making a circle, does it matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise or some of both?
Some of both is fine. Then you can do it on a figure 8. I like that. That's a good idea. I generally move it counterclockwise. It's a more active way of moving. It involves a little more awakeness. And sometimes with small children, we'll choose to go clockwise instead. But I generally do my circles counterclockwise. And in eurythmy, we are always making new choices with whatever we do. So we're not formulaic.
Yes, and Lisa had a second part to her question. She said, is not going backwards for a spiritual reason or for...
That was on the A.
Yes, agility A.
It would be a little bit tough to do this one going backwards. So that's why. This one is one that works more effectively coming forward into the world. There are sometimes we do A behind the back, but that's not a relevant thing to do in this exercise.
Okay.
You're welcome to try. I don't mind if you try. Good luck.
Thank you. Christine said that it would help to see O from the back also in terms of leaning to one side or the other. And she asked if you could please show that.
In terms of leaning, I wonder if you just mean like this to see it here. I'll show it from the side.
I think when you're moving the circle of the O as if you were working with a partner.
Yes.
And then you move around to the circle, and you know how you lean to the outside of the circle?
I can't wait to teach you how to do that. That requires a big lesson. That requires a big lesson, dear Christine. To move a circle, and again, it's coming in future weeks. To move a circle, I know where my middle point is. And if I go to the right, I'm moving here around that middle point. Now the middle point is behind me. Now I'm going to go to the left, so I have to lean to the left a little bit. And now the middle point is in front of me. So whenever we're moving curved forms, we're always doing it in relationship to the center. And I assure you, it's hard for everyone from the beginning. Most people have got a blind spot. Most people will have a blind spot back there. They'll go like this. And then on the way back, they'll just kind of fade. They don't know how to find the whole roundness of the circle. So it's similar to the blind spot that we have in our vision and to the blind spot we have in our soul. We all have them. And so in eurythmy, we break through that by practicing. Christine, have patience. We'll get there.
Thank you. Sangeeta said, making the A cross, and it might be the A, the exercise for dyslexia. You mentioned, what age child would you recommend that?
Doing that one, that little jumping A, I would gently begin at 2nd grade, not in the beginning. And yeah, so second grade, 8 years old, 7, but be careful. The A can be a little bit brutal, a little bit tough, but yeah, great, and it can go all the way up into the upper grades as well. I
Mm.
love to weave it into my Michaelmas stories, by the way, that the children are out riding a horse at that season.
Next week, can't wait. Richard asked, do your fingers touch when you do the O?
Ever so barely, yes, they do. Or if they don't touch, they are so aware of each other that there's an electric current between them. So, and as I said before, there are those people who cannot contain their love. They're what I call leakers, or there are those who are too flat and their love is too self-consumed. And the journey is to find the biggest, best round O. And if you close it, you're in balance between inside and out.
Thank you.
Isn't it incredible how many things that you can perceive and develop?
How many levels this
How many levels?
Okay, Joanne asked, is the arms crossed on the chest known as the reverence pose?
This one, yes. And there's different layers to this. This is also the gesture A, isn't it? And I, as a eurythmy teacher, am always careful that I don't just slap my hands here. Of course, it's a position that we do in life a lot, just hanging like that, arms in that position. But in eurythmy, I use it to really stand still. And if I'm doing it with a class, for instance, I make sure that we have at least 5 seconds of stillness in that position, standing straight. Please let me linger here for a second. When I was teaching children, I would have them stand like that, and then they would do this and this. And I would say, no wiggles, no jiggles, no squiggles until I count to 10. And one boy or girl would do this. I said, oh, starting over again. Just to be sure that the students practice quietness. So as for us also, this in standing quiet, gently coming back to ourselves, we are in reverence. So yes, and it's a different reverence from this one, which is also called the soul gesture for reverence to the higher world. Sorry, more information than you were asking for, I think, but yes.
But still welcome, thank you. Jessica asked an interesting question. She said, if time, I'd love to know more about when, how, and what kind of music is used to accompany eurythmy classes.
Do you know? Jessica, do you mean children or adults? Maybe I'll go ahead and answer anyhow. To begin with, for these exercises that we're doing, I do a lot of like early classical music, Mozart, Haydn, things that are structurally very clear, things that have like 4 measures. I like to use what we call 4/4 counting, 4 beats to the measure for most exercises. And because they have such clear structures and not a lot of emotional component, they create like the logic of thought in music. And I almost will not teach children if I don't have an accompanist. Adults can do it because you can find the inner structures in yourself. But with children, I want to be carried by the lawfulness of music in their movements. When I'm teaching adult eurythmy, there's a whole nother journey in music, and I'm just so reluctant to do it on the computer because I want to do live music. But we I love it when we get into Chopin and Debussy and the Romantics and start really feeling how the soul moves through music, makes music visible. But I don't think, please, let's try to get together after quarantine and have some live classes. I'd love it. Will you come? Will you come? Or invite me to your community. I'm on my way.
Okay, Hannah has a question. Do you have any resources or advice for adapting these exercises to do with children?
Yeah, so as I've said, the rod exercises work well for children. The other things like the soul exercises, I would not touch until the children are older. For children, I do have a whole homeschooling video series that you can purchase on my website, and they have a lot of these rod exercises on them and some geometric exercises, how to walk stars and things like that. But I have never aspired to teach the artistic process of eurythmy to children by computer, because it's a whole different thing. And you need to get the magic by having a live teacher there. So once again, to summarize there, rod exercises and geometric exercises work fine with children. And on my website, I have an age-appropriate curriculum for each of the different ages. Okay. Hey, Hannah, I can't read most of the chats, but I saw that you just said thank you. So go look at what I've got.
Okay, Christine asked, in terms of clockwise or counterclockwise, where's the 12 and the 6, and where are we starting?
When I am showing you my exercises, I start at the 6 and go around to my right, counterclockwise, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12 is at the front of my circle. And then going backwards, 11 will take me back to the 6 that way. Hope that helps. So I start here, I'm going clockwise, and I go forwards to the top of my top of my clock. And I go backwards, back to the 6 over my left. Hope that helps. Wonderful. If I was with you, I'd show you. Come see me if you don't know. I'll talk you through it. Christine lives in my town, so she can come. If it's a Christine, I think it is.
Lucky her. Sangeeta has a two-part question. She asked, what is the purpose of the R sound exercise?
The rhythmic R. That is to regulate the rhythmic system and deepen the breathing. And since a lot of people are sitting in computers, COVID or not, whatever, a lot of people just aren't breathing the way that we used to breathe in times when we had other professions, other things of life. We need to breathe. We desperately need to breathe. And this one, the rhythmic system harmonizes head and limbs. Look at this is some deeper thinking. The contractive pull of the head and the expansive pull of the rhythmic system. All through life, we're going between head and limbs. And this little R exercise goes, strengthens the harmonizing activity of the rhythmic system. Do you want to lecture on that? You can do that.
Coming soon.
Yeah, you know, good people. I lecture on anthroposophy, when I travel, when I do courses. So I can't help it. I just need to say so much. But go ahead, Michelle.
And then the second part was actually just a confirmation. O is warm, A is separation, like that. So I
perfect.
Yes, I think you took care of all of that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
And then lots of wonderful expressions of gratitude. And I'm scrolling. Oh, you're going to like this one. Ayana said, are there any books, lectures aside from your book that you would recommend in order to understand more deeply the esoteric components of eurythmy?
Oh my goodness. Hmm. Aside from my book, I only know one, which is in German. Only one that goes into the esoteric aspect of eurythmy. Even the way, well, there is a collection of, so Rudolf Steiner gave the books that Rudolf Steiner gave, the lecture courses, Eurythmy is Visible Speech and Eurythmy is Visible Music, are the two primary texts that we use, but they are not as esoterically nourishing unless you can really read deeply between the lines and understand why it helps to do straight lines and curves. Otherwise, it's on the first read, it sounds pretty technical. But Rudolf Steiner, perhaps you know, loved to have and sometimes insisted that there should be eurythmy performances at his lecture series before every lecture. And he said he would actually lock the doors before the eurythmy performance started and not let people into his lectures if they hadn't watched the eurythmy. Wild, huh? But he was saying, watching eurythmy enlivens your ability to take up the spiritual work that he's doing. Well, if that's true, just think how much more we get by doing eurythmy. It really opens up our levels of understanding. So before those performances were given, or before they began, Rudolf Steiner himself came out on the stage and gave lectures about what people were going to see, or short talks, 5-minute talks. And there are some of these in English. Do I know where? I don't know where. I have a book that thick, literally, of the transcripts from in German, but I've only seen a short collection in English. Perhaps if I find it, I can bring it to us next week. Otherwise, my book was made to answer that question.
Okay, you're going to love this next question in the category that you and I call moving forward. Ayana asked, is there any chance of your giving us some lectures in the future?
There is such a big chance. There is such a big chance. I and Michelle have just been trying to figure out where that fits in this whole project. You people would help a lot if you would encourage it, if you would say yes, what you want, how much you would want. We will create it. I can lecture on cosmic evolution, the beginning of time, the hierarchies, life after death, meditation. I take them all on. So yes, just let me know what, and we'll be there.
Wonderful. Well, you have invitations for visits, and I will save the chat, and you will enjoy reading through the chat and chats and the gratitude and all of the wonderful ideas.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful autumn. Get ready for Michaelmas. I will talk some about Michaelmas next week. I'll invite you to stay on to schedule another 15 minutes next week for our lesson. So wonderful autumn, and to those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, have a wonderful spring. We'll see you next week. Thank you.